National Party leader Simon Bridges is making no apologies for taking a hard line on welfare. Today, floating a plan to cut off the benefits of those who don't get their kids immunised. Other policies in the party's just released discussion paper on social services include reinstating benefit sanctions on women who won't name the father of their child, bringing back targets to reduce the number of beneficiaries, and returning to Bill English's flagship policy of social investment. I spoke to Simon Bridges just before we came to air, and I asked what he'd be aiming to achieve with his welfare policy.
Well, I suppose there's two sides to a coin. One is to help the most vulnerable, but the other side of that coin and the harder-edged policies are actually about getting people off benefits, because we have a firm belief that people have better opportunities and better lives ultimately if they're not caught up in state dependency over the long term.
Where's the balance between carrot and stick in all of this then?
Well, there is a balance, and, I think the reality of our welfare policies is the balance for us will be somewhat closer to the stick than it is for the Labour Party, the Green Party. I couldn't sort of tell you exactly for the New Zealand Party, but we are nevertheless trying to get that balance, that fair go, as I say, between, on the one hand, that the safety net, which I think all New Zealanders understand is important, but on the other hand, that the desire not to have people on benefits for the long term is bad for them and it's bad for the hard-working taxpayer.
OK, let's drill down into where that balance is then. You would keep sanctions against sole parents who won't name the other parent. I'm wondering, how does that help the children in those families? How does that help raise them out of poverty and get a decent meal on the table?
I think ultimately it helps society, if you want to put it that way, because it makes quite clear that if you are a dad and you have had a child, you have obligations and responsibilities in relation to that.
It doesn't force them to pay, though, does it? By deducting income from the family they have left behind, it doesn't make them pay. Nothing about that forces them to pay.
I accept ultimately that can be the case, but what is also true is this is not an extreme policy. I accept that there are plenty of exceptions, actually, where it is unjust for the mother to be disclosing the situation. We get that, but I do think, in general terms, having a sanction, or as I think others have called them in the past, the deadbeat dad, is the right message for society.
But it doesn't achieve anything. Anne Tolley commissioned research while you were in government. It showed that sanctions of this nature put families at a higher risk of hardship and long-term welfare dependency, and there's no evidence to support that they change behaviours. So that's counter to your goal of raising people up, isn't it?
I think it does achieve, I hate to use a sort of an academic term here, but a normative goal, which is to make quite clear our values in relation to mums and dads and their responsibility. I think more broadly, sanctions definitely do work. And you can see that over the last couple of years, where the sanctions have come off. People are languishing longer on the dole queues in a time of very low unemployment. That we've got 22,000 more on the job seeker support. I think the facts of the last couple of years under Labor actually show when you ease off on the mutual obligations and accountabilities, it does have an effect. People stay on the benefit longer. OK,
so you plan to introduce clear targets, your words, clear targets for reducing the number of people on benefits. So how much of a reduction do you want? 10%, 20%? What are you aiming for?
No, I'm not going to name those today. I assure you we will.
You said a clear target, so we're not clear on what your target is.
Well, I'll be clear about the clear target, I can assure you, before the election. But our process has been surveys, followed by discussion documents. We're effectively warming up the themes and proposing questions and the like. But I can tell you...
But you plan to have a target.
And I want you to know that, Lisa, before election day.
All right, so you'll be aware again that research commissioned while you were last in government showed that of the people who came off the benefit during a certain time period, 50% of them bounced back within 18 months because you didn't track where they were going, if they had a better life, if their situation improved. So just getting them off the benefit doesn't improve people's lot, does it?
Yeah, Yeah, and look, I think you make a good point. I think this is why social investment, that other side of the coin, is so important. It's not just throwing money at an issue, as I think the Labor Party and this government does. It's targeted investment where we think it'll make the difference. It's data and analytics to do exactly what you're saying, which is tracking people, making sure actually that they are better off in work, because I think for society to work overall, we need to have that situation. That's why in the document, for example, we are in favour of the abatements being in a better position so that people are keeping more money when they do get into work.
Let's talk about then. You talk about abatements. So in simple terms, the amount of money you can earn before the state takes away part of your benefit. So where is it at the moment for a job seeker, and how much would you allow them to earn more?
Well, I think at the moment, off the top of my head, you were talking about, given minimum wage rises and so on, literally 4 hours on the benefit, on the job seeker support benefit, at which point you then start being docked. You know, it does seem to me that's not enough. I'm not going to put a number on it today again. Yeah, I'm not going to put that number on it today, but we're making clear in this document that we do think it can be better than that. We do want to ensure that people feel
Give us a
the rewards
ballpark.
of their labour.
If you don't think that is a fair amount, so you're saying at the moment people can work 4 hours, right? It's about $80 you can earn, $80 before they start to take money off your benefit. What should it be set at? The Welfare Advisory Group says it should be $150 a week. Are you with the Welfare Advisory Group on this one?
Well, if I listen to that and I say you go from 4 hours to at 150, you know, what is that, roughly 7 or 8 hours? There seems to be a logic in that. I can think of people in my wider family.
Sorry to interrupt, but I need to be clear about it. Sorry to interrupt, but I need to be clear. So you're agreeing with the Welfare Advisory Group that the Labor Party commissioned that like around $150 a week before you start losing your benefit is about right?
You say that, Lisa, like they deserve some credit for it. They commissioned a multi-million-dollar report. It then sat on the shelf for months, and they haven't done, I don't think, really any.
Forget the politics for a minute and think of the number. So you're saying that $150 is in the ballpark?
I'm accepting that there's a logic to what they're talking about. I'm certainly making clear to you, as we have in the document, we believe in it being more than it is today and people keeping the fruits of their labour feeling rewarded for their work. I'm not going to set a number on it today, though.
Okay. And one of the questions you pose in this policy document is this. For sole parents, should it be a requirement that their children are fully vaccinated? Why are you addressing that question or pointing it towards sole parents?
Well, I think simply because we're talking about people who receive taxpayers' money and in a situation where their child is not immunised.
Are sole parents less likely statistically to immunise their children? Do you have any information that suggests that?
No. I'm simply making the direct link between immunisation and someone who is on a benefit funded by people who've worked and paid taxes for that. And the simple proposition I would put, and you're right, in the document we're phrasing this as a question. In my mind, frankly, I'm rather clearer on this. That there is no good reason to not immunise your child in 2019. Given that, if you're not going to do it, I say, well, you shouldn't be receiving taxpayer funding, or certainly as much of it.
So
because we
zero benefit?
Those children, we want to see those children immunised.
So you'd rather see them starve?
Well, you know, the harm that comes from contracting measles, from potentially all the problems that go without that, the infection, as we're seeing in Northland, that spreads into an epidemic, those aren't things that I want to see in New Zealand.
And nobody will take away from the severe repercussions of a child having measles. But are you suggesting that if you do not immunise your child as a beneficiary, that you're going to go to zero funds from the government?
Today we're asking the question. I'm making a case to you that there is no good reason not to immunise, and I'm saying if you're not going to do that, actually, you know, should you be getting taxpayer money, do that on your own dime.
That's the National Party leader, Simon Bridges.